Planet Earth, a colossal system of intricate processes interlinked to create the complicated and biodiverse world we see around us. There are 8.7 million species on the planet, each one occupying a specific realised niche. Homo sapiens are the dominant species on the planet. We don't adapt to a specific realised niche, but create our own in an often destructive manner.
Our insatiable hunger for consumerist goods and the ultimate luxury lifestyle have blinded some of us to the potential ramifications of our actions. Each and every day we damage the planet, even with the most mundane aspects of living, especially when you put that into perspective of the sheer number of people that use energy every day. Whilst the different processes that make up Earth are delicate, they're actually also quite robust and capable of healing themselves over time. However, the rate in which we damage the planet is so catastrophic that it threatens to smother our planet entirely. So Molly, why is the rate of anthropogenic damage so high?
Well, in the world there are currently 7.2 billion people, with this population increasing exponentially. This increase puts a large strain on societal, economical and biological processes. The issue we are focusing on in this podcast is the issue of land management. With such a large population, there is a greater demand for land for living on and growing food on. It is estimated by 2030 there will be a 40% increase in the amount of food required and a 70% increase by 2050.
The area of the world we have chosen to focus on is the Amazonian basin. Due to its vastness encompassing 6,915,000 kilometres squared, it presents a huge amount of available land that makes it a prime target for agricultural and logging industries.
Also, due to its size, it is very difficult to police and enforce any legislation that is in place, thus making it very easy to exploit the resources.
The Amazon basin is home to the largest rainforest on Earth, encompassing 40% of the South American continent.
This includes part of Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia and Venezuela. This area not only includes rainforests, but also includes habitats such as savannas and deciduous forests. Within these habitats today, there have been 40,000 plant species, 427 mammals, 1,300 bird species, 378 reptiles, and 400 amphibians.
And 3,000 freshwater species being discovered, including the red-bellied piranha, the demon earth-eater, and the red giver seps, with dozens more being discovered every year.
Each of these species are part of a complex web of mutual dependence that has evolved over millions of years. However, these different organisms are not the only ones to rely on habitats such as those found in the Amazon basin. 1.6 billion people rely on rainforests such as the Amazon for food, clothing, shelter, and water. 200 native tribes still live within the Amazon, some of which having still not been contacted by the outside world.
The vast majority of the Amazon rainforest is found in Brazil, where deforestation is a big problem due to trees being burnt down. 65 to 70% of deforestation occurring is due to the land needed for cattle raising. A further 22 to 27% of land needed is for small and large-scale agricultural sites. There is also a huge demand for lumber all around the world, with 80% of the logging occurring in the Amazon being illegal. Needless to say, there is a government-based warden force that attempts to catch and stop illegal deforestation. However, as mentioned previously, the Amazon is huge and there is no way to know what is going on everywhere within the forest. Still, every day the Amazon loses 19 kilometres squared of its rainforest. But it's not just the loss of trees and green space. Deforestation also has a huge effect on the different communities of organisms within the Amazon, and has been known to destroy many hidden secrets that could possibly be beneficial to humankind. 55% of cancer-fighting organisms are found within the Amazon. Scientists have only tested 1% of the plants found in the Amazon, and already 121 natural remedies have been found that can be used for medicines. This means there could be many more potential remedies that have yet to be discovered.
Logging in the Amazon is causing expanses of the rainforest to turn into isolated islands of trees, causing fragmentation of their habitat, causing species to either adapt or migrate in order to survive the ever-changing world around them. However, not all species are that mobile, such as the sloth, pictured here. An option to decrease illegal logging would be to provide an alternative source of income for locals, so they can still provide for their families, albeit in a less destructive way. One such alternative form of income is to increase the number of wardens by hiring locals who already have a knowledge of the environment around them. Although an increase of wardens would have a positive effect, Thousands would be needed in order to cover the expanse of land that encompasses the Amazon basin. So, what attempts can be made in order to rectify this logging issue? Well, there is currently a lot of research around transgenic plants that can be used as tools to manipulate photosynthesis. This means that less land would be needed than for normal crops, as the modified crops would be more efficient and therefore would produce a higher yield. However, the literature concerning the correlation between photosynthesis improvements and increased yield is sparse, as it is a fairly unstudied area.
Brazil has in place a forest code that is responsible for the decrease in deforestation rates within the Amazon, as can be seen from this table here. However, it has come under heavy scrutiny from those who see it as a barrier to agricultural development and profit. In 2012, after intense pressure from agricultural developers, the Brazilian government was successful in making changes to the forest code that went against both public opinion and scientific evidence. These small changes to the forest code are estimated to have catastrophic effects on the Amazon, with 76 million hectares of land being at risk. Brazil committed itself to reducing deforestation rates by 80% by 2020. However, with this new legislation in place, that commitment is essentially impossible. This reform was under debate for 15 years between agricultural developers and environmentalists. As mentioned before, the need to provide food is becoming ever more prevalent. However, environmentalists argue that this demand can be met by improving the productivity of existing farming land, rather than cutting down more of the Amazon to cultivate new land.
Ultimately, this issue touches on people's livelihoods. There is no way that farming and agricultural activities can be suppressed, especially with this increasing demand.
But there is also no way that destroying forests that support so many delicate communities can be sanctioned or justified. The solution lies in compromises from both sides. The key is to be reasonable and to think of all the possible effects of what's being proposed, and to make an informed decision that will benefit both sides.
Obviously it can't be that simple, and there's no way to avoid conflict with this kind of issue. So bowing out and giving in to one side, such as the alterations to the Brazilian Forest Code, is not a way to avoid conflict and move forward.
Whilst compromise is not going to make everyone happy, it is what is needed for farmers to be able to sustain their land, and for scientists to be able to protect endangered species and protected areas.
At the end of the day, it comes back to the issue that is ever present in our world: human greed and consumerism. Despite having what we need to live and lead a good life, people always want to profit more.
Whilst one person can be rich, another person can barely scrape together the money just to live. This is why so much illegal logging occurs in places such as the Amazon.
This is because people are forced to take what income they can get to feed themselves and their families.
In conclusion, this issue is a constant battle between morals and profit.